Today I will tell you what you need to do to turn your photos into sketches with Photoshop. But we will use an action for this, and this action is paid. Today I will talk about a paid action. This action we will use is an action that I like very much in terms of working style, and I wanted to share with you this action and what it can do. Let's get started. You can download the Archi Sketch plugin from Envato's own site, Envato Market. The full name is Archi Sketch Photoshop Action. You will already find the link in the description section. This is how it turns images into sketch images, and we will see how to do it. When you buy and download it from here, and when you open that zip file, you will have 3 files. These files may have different names. What we need here is what their extensions are. PAT means pattern, ABR, the brush file, and there is also an action file. We need to upload all these files to the photo so that when we run the action, it will work correctly. Let's open Photoshop and come back to the file section. By clicking on these files, we can upload them to Photoshop. We don't need to do anything else. For example, I double click on the brush file and the file is loaded here. In the same way, I double click on the pattern file. Patterns are also uploaded to Photoshop, and then there is an action part. We will need the action panel. If you don't see the action panel, you can make it appear by clicking on the actions option under window. Now I go back to the folder with the files and double click on the actions file here. When I double click on it, an action like this will be added. Now that the action is here, we can proceed to execute the action. However, there are some points we need to pay attention to for the action to work properly. There are actually 2 basic points. One of them is that when we open the image, we need to pay attention to this. The image is here as a background layer. You need to open it here as background, and the lock icon on the right side should appear. If you open it in such a position, you will need to convert it to background. To turn this into a background, I go to Layer in the menu just above. Click on the new button and select background from layer. When you select this, as you can see, it will automatically turn into background and the lock icon will stay there. There are also scenarios like this. You have opened a new file, you have put another image on top of this file. As you can see here, there are 2 layers. This should be a single layer and its name should be background. When you encounter such a situation, if you press Ctrl E while the top layer is selected, it will merge 2 layers. Therefore, it will return to the shape we want again. This part is important. The next part is this. When we examine the action, you will see the name Select Layer Brush. This means select the layer named Brush. I'm creating a new layer. I'm changing the name of this one to Effort. Now we will create the brush part. I'm painting the places we care about on the image on this brush layer. So it will create a sketch based on these important points. I select the brush tool on the left side so that we can paint. The shortcut is the letter B. B for brush. I'm minimizing this. My intention here is to paint the whole building, so we can also go straight into a painting like this. It doesn't matter what color it is, but I'm going to choose red to make it stand out more visually. As I said, the color doesn't matter. Making sure that the brush layer is selected, I paint the points that we want to highlight. I painted the building here because I wanted to highlight the building. I select the action we added here and click the play button. When this button is clicked, there will be no problem because we are doing what the action file wants correctly. The action will run until the end. The completion time of the action may take a few seconds, a few minutes, depending on the quality of the photo. And as a result, the action is finished. It gave us this image. That's actually the basic thing that this action does, making the image more like a sketch. When it created the image, it created some layers of course, and we can manipulate these layers and edit them as we want. We can also see that the creator of this action has arranged all the layers in the layers panel in an organized way. This organization allows us to make changes at any point. It is also possible to remove each of them and get different images. And likewise, the adjustment section at the top is another area where you can edit the photo. For convenience, the maker of this action has placed these here as well. For example, if I want to increase the contrast, I click on the contrast and this is what happens in the properties panel. Whichever of these you click on, that part will change in the properties panel. If you don't see this panel, you can open properties under window. When I want to increase this contrast, I can see that the lines look much more dominant. In the same way, let's give it a little more brightness. We can increase the brightness. Again, with the brightness option here, we can make some changes. You can change these completely according to your own style. Now let's see how to make these adjustments on another photo. This is our other photo as an example. Let's combine with this Ctrl E and create a new layer. And let's call it brush. We'll take our brush and this time the parts I want to reveal are the main parts. I can take one side of the door. Let's take the window part. And then I press the play button. Yes, the work is complete. I think it looks pretty good. For example, if you want to remove this image from the background, you can make the paper texture part of the background invisible. Or you can change the color by making it visible on the options here, and you can use it that way. In fact, apart from removing the background, we can also cancel the colors on it. We need to access the colors folder in the layers panel, and here it is. We can even make it invisible so that it only remains as a drawing. Let's do one last example, and let's do it on this image. Yes, as you can see, with a few small edits, we have made it like this. Thanks to this plugin, we can easily turn architectural images into sketches and drawings. If Action doesn't work, your image is small or you are using Photoshop in different language. You may need to use English, especially because Action also needs to enter some points. That's all for this Action. I hope it was useful. If today's video was useful to you, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel right now. Just click the subscribe button below this video. Thank you for watching.